Here's something nobody tells you: when you get promoted, the extra money disappears faster than it arrives. You land a raise, maybe it's 5%, maybe 10, you feel that little rush of validation. Finally, some breathing room: maybe you can actually save this time, maybe you can stop checking your account balance before ordering takeout. And then 3 months pass. The breathing room is gone, you're back to the same tight feeling at the end of the month. Same stress, same calculations, you're earning more than ever before, but somehow you feel poorer than you did 2 years ago. If that sounds familiar, you're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. This isn't about discipline or willpower, it's about three interconnected forces that most people don't even realize are working against them: lifestyle inflation, the price ratchet effect, and the fixed expense spiral. Together, they create what I call the cost of living trap. And once you're in it, every raise just makes the walls close tighter. Let me show you how this actually plays out. Meet Sarah. She's 28, lives in Chicago, works in marketing. In 2022, she was making $48,000 a year. After taxes, health insurance, and 401k contributions, she was taking home about $3,100 a month. Her rent was $1,200, car payment $280, student loans $300, phone, internet subscriptions another $150, insurance, utilities, gas, groceries, call it $800 more. That left her with about $370 a month for everything else: clothes, going out, emergencies, saving, $370 to cover life. It was tight, really tight, but she managed. Then in early 2023, she got promoted. Salary jumped to $60,000. After the same deductions, she was suddenly taking home about $3,900 a month, $800 more than before. $800, that's real money. That's the difference between stress and stability, right? Here's what happened instead. First, she moved. The $1,200 apartment was fine when she was broke, but now she could afford something better. She found a place for $1,650. Nicer neighborhood, bigger space, finally a dishwasher. It felt justified. She was earning more after all. The lease on her car was ending anyway, so she upgraded. The $280 payment became $420, nothing crazy, just a slightly newer model with better features. Again, it felt reasonable. She could afford it now. Then the small stuff crept in: better gym membership, nicer coffee, more dinners out because she didn't have to cook every single night anymore, a few more weekend trips, higher quality groceries because why not, she earned it. None of these felt excessive at the moment. Each decision made perfect sense in isolation. But here's the thing about small upgrades: they don't stay small. By mid-2024, Sarah was taking home $3,900 a month. Rent was $1,650. Car was $420. Student loans still $300, but now subscriptions had drifted to $200. Groceries and eating out were closer to $1,000. Insurance went up, gas prices went up, everything just went up. She was back to having about $400 left at the end of the month. She was earning $12,000 more per year than before, but she had $30 more in monthly breathing room. That's the cost of living trap. So what's actually happening here? First, there's lifestyle inflation. That's the obvious one. You earn more, you spend more. It's almost automatic. Humans are really good at adjusting to a new baseline and then treating it like it was always the minimum. The $1,200 apartment that felt normal suddenly feels inadequate once you know you can afford $1,650. Your brain doesn't think, "I'm spending $450 more." It thinks, "I'm finally living at the level I deserve." But lifestyle inflation has a partner, and this one's less obvious. It's called the price ratchet effect. When you upgrade something in your life, you almost never downgrade it back. Psychologically, it's nearly impossible. You can cut back on eating out or cancel a subscription, sure, but moving back to a cheaper apartment, downgrading your car, that feels like failure. It feels like going backwards. Your expenses ratchet upward with every raise, but they don't ratchet back down when things get tight. They lock in place. And that brings us to the third piece: fixed expenses. Here's where it gets dangerous. Every time you make a lifestyle upgrade, you're not just spending more money. You're converting flexible spending into fixed obligations. Eating out is flexible, you can stop anytime, But rent, that's fixed. You signed a lease. Car payment, fixed. You're locked in for 3 years. These aren't decisions you can unmake easily, they're commitments. And here's the math that really matters. When Sarah was making $48,000, about 60% of her take-home went to fixed expenses. Rent, car, loans, insurance, stuff she couldn't easily change. After her raise and lifestyle adjustments, 73% of her income was fixed. She was earning more, but she was also more trapped than before. Why do people keep doing this? Why does every raise disappear? Because we're terrible at thinking about money in systems, we think in snapshots. When you're deciding whether to upgrade your apartment, you're not thinking, this locks me into an extra $450 a month for the next year, plus higher utility costs, plus the psychological pressure to furnish it nicer. You're thinking, can I afford this payment right now? And the answer is yes, you just got a raise, of course you can afford it. But affordability isn't about whether you can make the payment today. It's about whether that payment gives you more freedom or less. There's also something called hedonic adaptation. Basically, humans get used to things really fast. That amazing new apartment, in 3 months it's just your apartment. The thrill is gone, but the payment isn't. You're paying $450 more every month for something that stops feeling special almost immediately. And here's the final psychological trap: raises feel like free money. When you get a raise, your brain treats it like a windfall, like you won something, so you feel permission to spend it. You don't think, I should save this, because it doesn't feel like you're taking money away from yourself. It feels like bonus cash that appeared out of nowhere. But it's not bonus cash, it's your income. And when you lock it into higher fixed expenses, you're not treating yourself, you're building a bigger cage. Let's run the numbers forward. Sarah is 28, let's say she keeps this pattern going. Every 2 years she gets a promotion and a raise, and every time her lifestyle creeps up to match it. By 35 she's making $85,000, sounds great. But her fixed expenses have climbed with it. Bigger apartment, nicer car, maybe a few more subscriptions and commitments. She's still living paycheck to paycheck, just at a higher income level. Now here's the scary part. She's 7 years older, but she has roughly the same amount of financial flexibility she had at 28. Maybe even less, because now she's got more obligations, more things she can't give up. If she loses her job, she's in trouble immediately. If she wants to take a career risk or start something new, she can't. Her life is fully subscribed. Meanwhile, compare that to someone who got the same raises but kept their fixed expenses stable. Same starting salary, same promotions, but instead of upgrading the apartment, they stayed put. Instead of upgrading the car, they kept driving the old one. They let their lifestyle lag behind their income by about 2 years. By 35, they're still making $85,000, but their fixed expenses are where Sarah's were at 30. They've got an extra $1,000 to $1,500 a month that's just free, flexible, available. That's $12,000 to $18,000 a year that can go toward investments, savings, or actually meaningful experiences instead of slightly nicer versions of the same life. Over 10 years, that gap compounds into a completely different financial reality. One person has options, the other has obligations. So how do financially intelligent people actually think about raises? They don't ask, what can I afford now? They ask, what do I actually want my money to do? When they get a raise, they don't immediately look for ways to spend it. They let it sit. They live on their old budget for 3 to 6 months and watch the extra money pile up. They get used to seeing it there. That does something interesting psychologically. It shifts money from thing I spend to thing I have. And once you start seeing yourself as someone who has money, spending it starts to feel different. They also think about fixed versus flexible. Every time they're tempted to upgrade something, they ask, is this adding a fixed cost? If yes, they're really cautious, because they know fixed costs are a trap. Flexible spending can always be adjusted. Fixed costs lock you in. And here's the big one: they treat lifestyle upgrades like investments. They ask, what am I actually getting for this money? Upgrading from a $1,200 apartment to a $1,651 sounds reasonable. But is it? What are you actually getting? Dishwasher, nicer street, maybe one extra room. Is that worth $5,400 a year, every year? For some people, maybe yes, but most people never actually ask the question. They just see that they can afford it and assume that means they should. Intelligent people delay gratification not because they're disciplined, but because they've done the math and realized that delaying small upgrades creates massive flexibility later. They'd rather live in the okay apartment for 3 more years and have $30,000 in the bank than live in the nice apartment and still be broke. Here's the reality: every raise you get is a test. It's testing whether you can handle more money without letting it control you. Most people fail that test, not because they're bad with money, but because nobody ever explained how the trap works. You're not supposed to feel poorer as you earn more, that's not how it's supposed to work, but if you're not paying attention, that's exactly what happens. The cost of living trap isn't about discipline, it's about awareness. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, and once you can't unsee it, you stop making the same mistakes everyone else makes. You stop upgrading automatically, you stop locking yourself into bigger cages, you stop trading future freedom for present comfort. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, the next raise you get actually stays with you. If this clicked for you, consider subscribing. I break down these kinds of financial patterns every week, no hype, no tricks, just the reality of how money actually works. Thanks for watching.